Hello everyone and welcome back to Building Nations. In the last episode we got this lovely gatehouse established and built up these new beautiful design for the walls. And it is looking pretty good. But today we're actually not going to be working here. I know it's weird, I feel like I've been here for so long, but really there are other things that exist in this world besides, this city. Which is great because it means I can do other things without having to, like, I don't know, go through burnout or anything like that. Because we've been over there quite a bit recently. But there are still some other things in the world, like this city up ahead. If you haven't watched the series from the beginning, you may be like, what is this? Well, this is the dwarven city of Weeratink. And here we are. This is unfinished, actually. In the past I'd finished the things before I left them, but I was getting tired of this, so I moved over there. But now I'm back, and I am here because I want to finish out this area. This is the last remaining portion of the city itself. This area has been filled in with some houses in this building. No interiors, but, I don't usually do those anyway. So this is the only thing left, and that is the mine. Not sure how exactly I want this to look quite yet, but I know that I want to do it right now. So I'm gonna do it, and we'll see what happens. Alright, as I said, I had really, no clue what I was actually going to be doing here. But I knew that I wanted a crane, so I made a crane. I wanted it to be holding something, and I wanted a crane. That's really all I knew going into this. So I made a crane, I made it hold some gold. And that's where I started. I decided to kind of add gold. Like this is going to be a gold mine, so there's going to be chunks of gold throughout. Just like a little bit. I also wanted it to be, I wanted more like, I don't know, texture variation in it instead of just like the same stone that the mountain's made out of. So I designed a gradient where the bottom is more heavily blackstoned and basalted than the top, just to kind of make it seem like you're going deeper as the mine progresses. And you can see that very clearly once the whole thing is in, because it's just like the bottom was like 80% blackstone and basalt and the top is like 20%. And that gradient really makes it clear that you're going deeper into the world. I added in, more pockets of gold throughout, and some lava, just because I needed something to fill the space. And lava seemed like a good thing, like it would naturally just be there, so I decided to add it in. Stuck some magma blocks and netherrack around it to make it blend in a bit more as well, which looks really nice. Expanded out the initial platform, added some nice fences onto it, which makes it look even better. Adding in some more lava, and I decided to go for a little lava waterfall. Well, that doesn't a lava fall, I guess. Just some flowing lava to really add a bit more to it as well. And all that combined to make a really nice effect with how that looks. So, expanding this top platform, adding in some fences around it and some lanterns, so you don't fall off, and more gold pockets throughout. So you can see that sort of lava flow that I mentioned earlier here. Adding in some more gold throughout. That was kind of like the interesting thing. Like, I'm not sure what else I could add. So I decided to add some barrels and TNT, which would be down here normally. They used explosives even in medieval times. Granted, I don't know if dwarves would have used explosives, so maybe that's something to reconsider, but definitely barrels, so I like having those down here. I wanted to try avoid using wood in general, just because, I didn't use wood in, any other place in the city, so I tried to avoid using barrels and stuff. I would have made, the crane and stuff out of wood as well, but I didn't want to. So here, I'm adding in a second level. They cleared out the first level when they were mining, and they left some of the stone in to serve as a second, walk-around layer, so they can, walk around in the mine. Did a similar thing to the upper layer, just kind of like adding a fence around it with some supports. There's no like detailed pattern or anything in the cobblestone itself, because that would not really make a lot of sense. Like, it's supposed to be like they cleared out the stone and this is like what they were left with, so they stuck a fence around it. Instead of the top layer, which is like, this is our floor, we want it to look nice, so they detail it. Um, but yeah, the rest of the fence is pretty much the same. Did some andesite with some cobblestone wall pillars and lanterns throughout, using the same support system that we used for the upper layer with the stone coming out, like going below. And that looks really good. I like the way it looks quite a bit. Adding in some more texture variation with some smooth stone around it, and eventually with some, well, I said smooth stone before, but now I'm actually adding in smooth stone. So yeah, and all of that combines to make a really nice looking mine. Did the same sort of barrel thing that I did before, and added in some gold as well. And that, it looks really good. And then I added in some more texture variation into the gold. Instead of just having it be gold blocks, now it's gold blocks, yellow concrete, and yellow wool. Alright, and with that, the mine is all finished. And I really like the way it came out. Having these like gold blocks and the barrels and TNT and all that stuff, the lava here, probably my favorite part of the whole thing. I really like the way this kind of waterfall works, and it's just really cool. And I like the way that it just all came together to make this thing. It's really nice. Anyway, the last, well, this was the last thing left in this, city, so we gotta put a roof on it. And how is that roof gonna work? Well, I want there to be a sort of flat covering, like above all of these walls and pillars, like they're supporting something, right? They're supporting a flat roof. But then on top of that, I want there to be a mountain, like a whole big mountain. And I'm not sure how exactly that's going to work, because I haven't really ever made a mountain before, but I think I could figure it out. But first, I want to figure out how the roof is going to work, and I was thinking it was just going to be a like flat covering of smooth stone. I'm not sure how that's going to look, though. Probably actually pretty good. Because it's not supposed to be, like, attention grabbing or anything. It's just a roof, because, like, that's how the stone works. And I can, make some, like, curve it down a bit in the middle here, bring it back up for the other pillar. Like, it's being, like, it's stone, like, it's terrain. So that's probably how that's going to go. And then I have to put a mountain on this thing. But I will get the roof on first, and then we'll see about making a mountain. Alright, as you can see here, we got the stone all in place. Didn't really time-lapse it because it's not particularly interesting to watch. But what I'm going to do now, I was thinking I was going to detail this ceiling, but now I'm thinking that's not really what I want to do right now. I do want to detail it. You know what, I think I will do that right now. So I'm just going to like kind of come in here and add some things like this, make the surface a bit more uneven, just to make it a bit more natural, I guess. Like, this looks pretty good, but it's not exactly what I'm like looking for in this. Like, it's super flat, which, yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, as I said, not what I'm really looking for, so I'm going to change it, try adding stuff like this, make it a bit more uneven, and we'll see how that goes. Also, something you might not have noticed, I actually raised up these pillars by a block, because before they were one block lower, and that put the stone at this level, which cut off like some of the designs here, and I didn't like that, so I made all of these one block taller. And yeah, the roof is done all the way around. So, from the top it looks really strange, but from the bottom it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm going to add a bit more texture variation into the ceiling, and I will see how that looks. Alright, I didn't actually end up going with the texture variation that I was thinking of doing, but I ended up with this, which I think looks a lot better than doing the stone, because it's still variation, but it's not, like, too much, I guess. Like, I don't know. I tried to do the other way, and it just didn't look good, so I went with this instead, and I think this looks pretty good. You can see we have the ceiling over everything, and it's looking nice. So, what's next? Well, we need to build up the mountain that's going to go on top of this thing, so that'll take some time. I'm going to use a method for that created by fWhip, which you will see, or not created, but he showed it to me in one of his videos. So, use that method to make the mountain, which I will explain in the time lapse. But first, I gotta build this up around here to make it even with the ceiling, and then we can start putting the mountain on top of it. Alright, so making this was quite interesting. I went with the same mixture I used at the base, which is stone, cobblestone, andesite, and dead fire coral block, just for even more variation in the grayness, since it's gray. I will probably eventually cover the rest of, or some of this at least, with dirt and snow, like the other side of the mountain is, just because that looks really nice. Well, not super nice, but it looks better than just flat stone. And there will be more variation as well, with like trees and some plants and stuff, maybe even some different like colors, maybe use like cyan terracotta, some other grays in there, along with this lighter gray, just for even more variation. And yeah, bringing up the stone, similar process to how I did it before, so I don't think I really need to go over it too much, but just using the brush tool to kind of get shapes and stone out there, and then smoothing it over by hand. And that creates a really nice looking mountain. I think the only part of this that I'm not super proud of is the part you're looking at right now, where it's like very flat. There's no like difference between where the spheres are, so a lot of it is identical, which doesn't look particularly good, but it kind of worked out in the end to create this nice shape. And I think it looks good, so we're going to go with it. So, the next part of this is making the top of the mountain. You know, the main part of what makes a mountain a mountain. So I mentioned that this method, I was following this from fWhip. So what, I can link the video in the description as well, so you can see specifically what he talks about. But basically, you build a pillar, or multiple pillars depending on what you want, in the middle, and you pick several points along the outside and connect those points to the top of the pillar, using like natural lines, trying to get not like perfect straightness, but you want some variation, some curviness, to make a more natural shape out of it. And that's what I tried to do. This process was pretty relatively time consuming, and I imagine that filling in the rest of the mountain will also be quite time consuming. So that's why I did not get to it in this episode, unfortunately, but will be done in the next one, probably, as I mentioned later. So this, the shapes, tried to make them, you know, natural, but there was a slight issue, very slight. You probably won't even notice it, but the pillar, or like the shape of the mountain itself, like the base of it, isn't like a circle. So there's no clear center for the main pillar, which is fine. But it means that some sides will have to be steeper than other sides, which is, again, it's fine. But I had to make, like, the side I'm working on right now is like really steep compared to the first pillar that I made, which it's not the end of the world. And once it's all filled in, you probably won't even be able to tell, because it'll look like a natural continuation of the ground, pretty much. So it'll look fine, but it's just something to think about if you're ever looking at the world later and you see the mountain. You'll be like, hey, that side's really steep. That side isn't as steep. That's really weird. Yeah, like the side I'm working on right now is like really far away compared to the one that I was working on to the beginning. So it's like, instead of like 4 blocks going up at a time, it's like 2. Which, again, it's not like bad. It's not the end of the world, but it's just, you know, something to notice. it'll make it very interesting to actually fill in the mountain because of that variation. And it should make it look even better almost, since it's not completely even all the way around. Alright, this base has been constructed and it's looking pretty good. I'm thinking this mountain is going to turn out really nice once I get all the rest of it filled in, which we might do in the next episode, and then that will be the end of Weeratink. It's crazy to think that all it took was me starting a new city to come back and finish this in the next 2 episodes. That's it's pretty cool. But yeah, you can see what it looks like on the inside here. This stuff doesn't look great, as you can see, but that's okay. I'll smooth it out in the next episode and get it nice and ready to be done. And yeah, I'm happy with all the progress we made. I think everything looks really nice, and I'm excited to be done with this probably in the next episode. And with that, I'm going to leave this here. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy, leave a comment, feedback you have for me, and I'll see all of you later. Bye.